Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to learn how you can use Git in a project. So what are some of the things we are going to learn in this video? How you can initialize Git in your projects. We're going to learn how you can create commits. We're going to learn how you can move in between branches, how to merge different branches, and how you can solve conflicts. And maybe a bit more. I don't remember exactly what I'm going to cover in here, but let's see. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is you need to make sure that you have Git installed on your computer. Okay, so go on to Google, just type down download Git. So this is the software that we're going to be using. And once you go to this website, there's going to be in here the different options that you can choose: Mac OS, Windows, Linux. Click in the one that corresponds to your operating system and then just download and install it. Now, if you are on Windows, this will install by default for you something called the Git Bash. Okay, it's going to install this one. So type down in here on your search bar Git Bash. This is what you want to be using if you are on Windows. If you are on Mac OS, that's all good. Now, I'm not going to be using this terminal in here because I integrated mine with my Visual Studio Code, but if you don't have it, just use this one, okay? I don't think it's going to work if you are using just a regular terminal from Windows. Okay, now with this out of the way, let's start our project and start using Git, okay? So I'm going to go in here in my project. Is a folder completely empty right now. I'm going to do an index.html. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a style.css. Okay, I'm going to put just some content in here. All right, now that I got this, I'm going to start initializing Git in here. Now, I'm going to open my terminal, my integrated terminal. If you guys don't have this, like I said, just use the Git Bash if you are on Windows. Now, you might have to restart your machine after you install this, just an advice. I'm going to do in here, Git init. And when you do Git init, it will initialize Git repository in here on your folder. To make sure that, you need to make sure that you are on this path, okay, where this is your project. If you do ls, look, I can see index.html, style.css, and now I can see in here U means that these files are being untracked. And we're going to learn in a second what's that. If I do now ls-a, so this is to list all the files from this folder, including the hidden ones. When you start a Git repository on this project, wherever you are, you will have this extra file, .git. This is just to make sure that you have in here Git initialized. Okay, so once you have that, the next thing that you want to do is we're going to do git, and then we're going to do config --global, and we're going to do user.name, and then you're just going to put your name. I'm just going to put in here Telmo Sampaio, and that's it. All right, so git config --global, username Telmo Sampaio. So this is what I have in here now. To every time that we're going to make a commit in our project, it will be labeled with my name because it was me that I was doing that. As you will see later on, this is super important just to know who was the person that was doing this kind of work. So when you do this git config --global means that you're going to use this in all your projects, so you don't need to do this all the time. Okay, I already have done this. You just need to press enter. Okay. If you have done this correctly, and after if you do this git config user.name, you see that your name has been configured correctly. Now it's going to be very similar. Do git config --global user.email, and then you're just going to put your email. So for example, telmo@gmail.com. Okay, something like that. I already have this done, so I don't need to do it, but for you guys that you don't have it, you know, this is how you do it. To make sure that this is done correctly, you just do git config user.email, and if your email is set up correctly, it should come up in here. Look, telmosampaio@gmail.com. Perfect. Okay, so now that we got this, we need to go on to GitHub. All right, so if you don't have an account with GitHub, this is where we are actually going to push our code in there. So we could work like with other people and so on. Let's go in here on the top where it says repositories. Okay. Or if you don't find it on the top, there should be in here your icon. You look for repositories. And let's click in here on this button that says new. Okay. We're going to create a new repository. Let's go in here and I'm going to do Git beginners. This is just the name. You don't need to specify anything else. Just press create repository. Okay, once this is done, we want to copy this line in here that says git remote add origin and then the URL in here from your repository. So let's copy this line. Let's go in here into our project. I'm just going to paste it by doing Control V. Depends on what kind of machine you are. Maybe you have to do Control V or Shift Insert to just paste this in here. Press Enter. All right. And I'm going to do git remote-v. And when you do git remote-v is just to make sure that whenever you want to push your code from your computer in here to that repository on GitHub, you have this URL correctly. Look, it looks correct. This is https github.com tsampaio, which is my username on GitHub. And then this was the repository that we just created. We have these two different kinds of methods that we have. One is for fetch and one is for push. So push is when you want to push code from here to that repository, and fetch is when you want to bring something from there to your local computer. Okay, now that we got this, let's start creating our first commit. And what is a commit? A commit is basically for you to save your code in a specific part that you are currently doing right now. And if something goes wrong, you can always revert back to that. Okay, so I'm going to do in here git status. And what this command says, git status, is, let me just increase this a bit more. I might have to just reduce a bit the zoom so we can see this better. So what git status does is, let me just scroll down. Okay, it's telling me that I have two untracked files. So we have these files, index.html, style.css. You see, they even have this U in here. You might not have this kind of U in here depending on your theme that you have in here on your Visual Studio Code. You might not have it, but don't worry. When you do git status, if it tells you these two are not being tracked, so it means that we need to add them to our staging area. That's how we call it. The staging area means that, okay, we are tracking these files, we are checking everything that has been changed on them, and then we can save them in a commit. A commit is like a save, like I told you. It's almost, I always refer back these to games. When you are playing a game, you can press save, or you can have these sort of checkpoints, which means that if you die in a game or something goes wrong, you can always go back. It's the same thing in here with code, all right? Okay, so let's do git add, all right? Let's do this, git add index.html. So I'm adding to the staging area this file, and then I would press enter, and then I would repeat the same thing in here for the style.css. So press enter, and then I would do again git add style.css, git add style.css. This is to add the files individually, or you can just do git add dot, which will add all your files that are being untracked to be tracked now. So when you do git add dot, we'll add all these files. Okay, so when I do git status again, this time I can see that these two files now are green and they are being tracked. Okay, let's create our first commit. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do git commit -m. So you need to do git commit -m for the message. And now in between double quotes, I'm going to put my message that I want to have for this commit. I'm going to put in here initial commit. Now, one thing, guys, when you are creating a commit, the commit will only work if you have these files staged. Okay, so when you do git status, make sure that your files are being tracked. Okay, if they are not staged, if they are not being tracked, this commit will not work. Okay, so let's do git commit. And now we have one commit, we have one save. If something goes wrong, we can always go back to that latest commit, to that latest save that we have done. Okay, so look in here, if I do git log, when you do git log is the way that you can actually see all the different commits that you had from before. So look in here, when I do git log, I can see this is the commit that I have done. So this is a unique ID from this commit. Who was the author? So this was my name that we just configured before, and this is the email. And finally, we have the date when this was created and the name of our commit. If you have multiple commits, as we will see soon, you will see this in here. Okay, so now that we have this commit, I want to push this code now onto my GitHub repository to share it with other people and so on. And just to make sure that if something happens to our computer, our code is always safe on GitHub, all right? So let's push this in there. Let's do git push origin. So we have to use this command git push because we want to push this code from here to GitHub. So we're going to push this git push origin. So origin, basically what is origin? Origin is the place on your GitHub. You know that URL that we set up from before, that git remote add origin and so on. Origin is that place on our GitHub with that URL. And then what do we want to push to our GitHub? We want to push our current branch. I'm going to touch what are branches in a second, but we are currently working on a branch called master. And this should come up in here on your terminal, but if it's not coming up, don't worry, okay? This is the current branch where we are working. If you are on Visual Studio Code, it's even telling you in here, look, master, on the bottom left of your screen. Should tell you in here or in here on the terminal. If it's not, don't worry, okay? Git push origin master. I'm gonna cover in a second what are these different branches. Okay, so if you are doing this for the first time ever, it might pop up some sort of a modal window or something like that in order for you to log in to GitHub, okay? So when you create an account with GitHub, that email and that password, you will probably have to put it in here in some sort of a pop-up window that might come up the first time that you do that, okay? So put your email and password. One thing that sometimes people, they get a little bit stuck is that when you are typing the password in here for the connection between GitHub, you don't actually see any of the characters coming up. When you are typing something, you don't see nothing. So just type your password as it should be and then press enter, okay? So if you push this correctly now onto your GitHub project, all right, let's go into our profile again. Let's go into repositories. Let's open our Git beginners. And now you will see that we are in here with a new branch. Look, master. We have one commit, which we just did now, and we have an index.html and a style.css. Okay, so you can see all these files. Let me just go back. What they have and one commit. Perfect. All right. So what's the next thing that we want to do in here? The next thing that I want to show you is, I'm going to put in here, let's say that I'm working in here on this project and I'm going to add some stuff like an H1 and I'm going to say company name and that's it. But you are like, oh, I've done a lot of changes in here, or let's say you broke your code. I'm just going to delete some part in here of the body. I don't know, something like this. Of course, if you remove something from here from the body or whatever, let's say I'm going to remove some stuff in here and it's basically just breaking our code. You did some mistake and you are like, oh my God, my code is not working. I don't know what am I doing. All right. Let's see some commands that they can save our life. One of them is going to be the git diff. like this, git diff. So when you do this git diff, all right, you will see in here that we did, let me see if I can scroll down. Yeah, you need to use the arrows on your keyboard, up and down. So as you can see on this line, this is the plus, means this is what you actually added now. So it means that you changed this line, and this is what it was from before. This is what you changed. And if you scroll down, it says as well that in this line of the body, okay, you added a new one, this one, the H1 with the company, and you also changed this part of the body. All right, so it's basically telling you what happened. If you want to get out now from this, you can press Q on your keyboard. Right, now, how do I revert this back? How do I revert this back to whatever it was from before? We can do a command doing git checkout dot, okay? So if you do git checkout dot space dot, basically it will clear all the changes that you have done from before, anything that you broke, and will revert back to the previous commit, okay? Like that. So this is all good now. Now I'm gonna do something else in here, by the way, guys. If you guys want to use the Git, the interface that is in here on Visual Studio Code, this also helps. Let's say that I just put something in here. I'm gonna put my name, okay, and I'm just gonna break down something in here on the title. I'm just gonna delete some stuff, tint title, and I'm gonna remove some stuff in here, okay. Just remove some more stuff, just to break this down really. If you are using Visual Studio Code, there is in here an option, which is this one, which is this icon from GitHub. If you click on that, it's telling you, let me just increase this size, it's telling you that there is a file that has had some changes, which is the index.html, okay? And if you click in there, look what's happening. It's telling you, so you don't even need to use any sort of commands in here, it's telling you what happened to your file. So this is your file from before, like the original one after the commit. So it's telling you that this is what it was from before, and this is what is now. So as you can see, the green part is things that you are just changing. So green parts is what you changed, and then there is like these red ones, which is things that you kind of deleted. You can see all the different lines that you did. Now, if you want to revert back to your previous commit, like I said, you could do git checkout dot, or let me show you another way. So this is to revert all the changes, but let me go back in here into my files, guys. Okay, I'm going to click in here on the top. If you go on to style.css, I'm going to put in here body, background color, blue. Okay. Let's go in here again to the changes on the Git. Look, this time is telling us, if you go into this style.css, this file initially had nothing and we added this code. That's why you can see it in green. So the git checkout dot will clear all the changes from all the files, or I'm going to show you another way if you want. You can do git status. When you do git status, it's telling us, look, we changed some of these files, index.html, style.css. So we can either add these files now to the staging area like we did before, or we can discard these. So to discard the changes from each one of these files, like I said, if you want to do all of them, git checkout dot, or you can do individually to each one of those by doing, like it says in here, git restore and then the name of the file, like this. If I want to just, for example, reset all the changes from this file, I can do git restore style.css, and this is gonna get rid of the changes from this file. Or if you are still in here in this command, we can check the different files that we change, and there is this icon in here that it says discard changes. So you can just click in there and that's it. Okay, so we just cover a lot of stuff in here to kind of reset our file if something goes wrong. All right, guys, so I'm just going to do for now my git checkout dot to remove everything. So I'm basically just back on my regular file that we have in here. Right, so let's go. Oh, what's happening in here? Let's go back in here. Let's go and add. We have already our first commit. So I'm going to put in here now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do now some... I'm just going to add some things in here, like, for example, company name. And I think that's it. So what I'm going to do, git status, I'm going to do git add dot, or I could just add this file if I wanted to, like this. Okay, like this. So git status again, and now I can commit git commit -m, and I'm going to say add company title. Right, let's do our git log. So if you do git log and you go up and down, you can see that this is all the commits that you have done. This is your latest one. Perfect. All right, now let's talk about different branches. So basically, when you are starting with Git in your project, you have the branch called master. Nowadays, they are even changing it to main. And what this is doing is basically like, is different ways for you to work on your project. Usually the master branch, this is the place where you want to have your main project when everything is working fine, okay? This is where you should be working. Not be working, but this is going to be your source for when you want to, for example, deploy your project to the internet and so on. When you want to work in your project with other developers and so on, you should create a different branch. So let me give you an example. If I want to be working now on a navigation bar, instead of breaking something in here from my code and, you know, having some problems and so on, what we could do is create a new branch. And I'm going to create a new branch like this, git checkout -b, and then I'm going to put in here, for example, navbar. And with this command of git checkout -b and then this name of the navbar, what we are doing is we are creating a complete new branch called navbar, and this new branch of navbar is going to be a copy from our master in here. All right, so it's going to be a copy, so it means that all this code that we have in here is going to be on that new branch, and you can just do whatever you want in there and then bring that code back into master. Okay, so this is just to make sure, like I said, guys, when you are working with multiple developers and so on the same project, for you guys to not conflict on what you are working on. So let's do that. Git checkout -b navbar. I think there is even a new command that you can use now called git branch or something like that, but we're going to use this one for now. Okay, so when you do git checkout -b navbar, means that you created this new branch and you moved onto it. Okay, so I'm not sure if your terminal is going to have this navbar, the new branch that you are currently working on, or not, but you should have it in here on the bottom left corner of your GitHub, of your Visual Studio Code. If you do the command git branch like this, you will see that we have currently two branches in our project. One is the master and one is the navbar. This is the one that we have in here that we are currently working on. Okay, so let's do something in here, guys. Inside of this body, I'm going to put in here, for example, a nav like this. So we are just creating a nav bar. Okay, I'm going to put in here company name. And now I'm going to put an unordered list, maybe with two LIs. So one LI is going to be home and another one is going to be the about. So we have this. Let's do git status to see what's going on. And it's telling us that we modified, we changed some stuff in here in our index.html. Okay, so let's add these onto the staging area and let's save it in a commit. Let's do git add dot, or you can do git add index.html, is up to you. And now let's do git status again. If you see, now this is green, means that this file is actually being tracked. We can commit it. So let's do git commit -m. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to say adding navbar. Okay, so we created this new commit. Now let's do a git log. When you do this git log, let me just increase my terminal. When you do this git log, now you will see that in this current branch that we are working on, we have a commit for our adding a navbar. We have another commit. Let me just go down. Where is it? I need to do that again because I think that I just quit by mistake. So git log. Yeah, because I can see them all in here. We have adding the navbar, we have this one, add the company title and initial commit. So we got all the commits that we were working before. We have all this history about what we have done. So if I want to go now onto the master branch, so I'm gonna do git checkout master, okay? And so git checkout master is how you can navigate to a different branch. You will see that now inside of our index.html, all that code that we did in the different branch is not in here, all right? Is not in here because that's really the purpose, guys. You want to keep your master branch clean. You basically want to create all the time some new branches whenever you want to create a new feature to your project and then put them in here. All right, so let's do a git log. If you do a git log in here, okay, let's go in here. You will see that the only logs that you have in here is company title and initial commit. You only have 2 commits in here. So how can we bring that code from our navbar branch? Okay, let's do git branch to see. We are currently on master. We have done some changes on our code on the navbar branch, but they are not in here in our master and we want to bring them in. Okay, so we can do that. We're gonna do git merge navbar. Okay, so once you do git merge navbar, okay, look at that. Now we are currently in our branch master, but we have all the code from the navbar merged in here, which is great. That's what we want. Okay, so let's just do a git log. And as you can see now, when you do the git log, you have the latest commit adding navbar that we brought from that navbar branch. Okay, let's learn now about how we could fix some conflicts. Okay, let's do that. Imagine that you are working with someone else and this someone else did some changes in here onto the master branch. Okay, so let's add something in here. I'm going to put in here like a paragraph and I'm going to put in here company subtitle like this, company subtitle. That's enough. So this is in our master branch. Someone was working in this, like someone else, one of your friends or one of your colleagues. Let's do git status, git add, and let's put in here dot to add this, and let's put a let git commit -m. And this time, what I'm gonna do in here is adding company subtitle. You shouldn't do this in here directly on the master branch, guys. Like I said, you shouldn't be working directly on this. You should always like create a different branch and then merge that code in here and so on. But I'm just like doing it in here fast because I just want to show you how you can solve some conflicts. Okay, so basically, look, we created a new commit in here in our master branch because we added this company subtitle. Now if we go back to our navigation bar branch that we were working before, let's do again git checkout navbar. Okay, look, we switch now to our navbar, we don't have in here that paragraph that we created in our master because this is a different branch. But now let's say that you are continue to work on your navbar branch and you change this h1 that you have in here, maybe to a div. I don't know. This is not a really good thing that you should do, but it's just for an example. You change this, you deleted this space, and now you added an extra li. I'm gonna put in here, for example, let's say contact. Right, and company name, I'm gonna change this now to Telmo Academy. That's my website, guys. If you didn't check it yet, check the link in the description with all my courses in there. Right, now, I was the person I was working on this navbar. I know that this is working properly, so that's how I want my navbar to be. So let's save this. I'm gonna do in here git status. This is the file that I've been changing, so let me go add this, let me go git add dot, and let's save this git. Let me just check the previous commits. The last one that we had in here was adding navbar, so I'm gonna do this time git commit -m, and this time what I'm gonna do is updating navbar with company name. Okay, updating navbar with company name and adding contact. Okay, I think this is enough. Let's press enter and that's it. So we updated our navbar as we want. All right, let's go to our master branch, which is our most important one, the one that we want to deploy on the internet, like I said. So let's do that. Let's do git checkout master. Okay, we went back to our master branch. As you can see, we don't have that code from our navbar branch. We don't have that updated in here with a div. If you notice, we don't have this kind of paragraph in there. This was someone that actually added this in here. So let's merge this in now. And let's see, there is going to be a conflict in here. There is going to be a conflict, first of all, because in here, we have an h1 saying company name. And in the other branch, if you remember, we have like Telmo Academy with a div. We don't have this paragraph in the other branch, okay? And then we have in here this one, an extra li. So let's merge this and fix this conflict. I'm going to show you how you can do it. Let's do git merge navbar. Okay, and when you do that, if you look in here onto the terminal, it's telling you git merge navbar auto merging conflict. Okay, so there is a conflict in here into this section. Now we can do a couple of things in here, guys. So as you can see, it added this part of the extra li with no problem. There was no conflict, but these two sections in here, they are the ones that they are conflicting. So basically, accept current change. The current change is these values that we have originally in here in our master branch. So if you select accept current change, it will just add this one in here. I'm going to click in here. We can undo this. There is no problem. Look, it's going to accept this part and it's going to reject this one. So look, accept current change, and there it is. This is what it was in there from before. But this is not what I want, guys. This is not correct. I want to get that code that I had in my navbar from before. So let me undo this by doing Control Z, or if you are on a Mac, it's going to be Command Z. Okay. If I do accept income change, so it means that it's going to delete this code and it's going to accept this one in here. Okay, the div with the Telmo Academy. But this is also not what I want, okay? Because I want to keep this div, Telmo Academy, to replace this h1. But I also want to keep this paragraph that says company subtitle. So what I'm going to do is, you can even click in here and says compare changes. Look, we can click in here, compare changes. And look, this is telling you, this is what was in my master, this h1 and this paragraph. And this is what is coming from my navbar branch. So I want to keep this div from my navbar, but I want to also keep this paragraph from my master. Okay, let's just get rid of this page in here. Click the X to get out, and we go back in here to solve this. Let's click this part that says accept both changes. So you will have the H1 and the paragraph from the master. We are accepting the div in here. And let's just remove this. Look, I'm going to remove this H1 from here. I'm just going to now cut this one out, put it up here. This is how I want it. Let's save it. And if we do a git status, we can see that the index.html has been changed. We know that. So let's add this onto the staging area. Let's do git add dot. If we do git status again, this is going to be now green. So it means that we can basically now save this. So git commit -m, and I'm going to put in here for the name of this commit, merging navbar branch into master. Okay, merging navbar branch into master. So we created a new conflict. We solved the new conflict, we created a new commit, and we are all good. All right, so I cover most of the things that you guys should know in here. One thing that I forgot to mention, guys, is that when we do git, if we want to push this code now into our GitHub, we can just do git push, and then there is this option of -u. So the -u is basically just upstream. So when you do git push -u origin master, so if you want to push just this branch that we're currently working on onto your GitHub, the next time that you are going to run this command, because you did this -u now, it means that the next time you only have to do git push. So this will push automatically this branch onto your GitHub. Okay, it's because I didn't do this before. Now I need to do it again. Git push -u origin master. So this is going to push this into our GitHub. Let's just refresh the page in here on GitHub. I'm going to increase the zoom so you guys can see better. And now look, we got our index.html with all this code that we have been working on. Let me go back. Oh, it was not this one that I wanted, my repositories. Come on, git beginners. We got in here a branch, which is the master. We can go in there. We get 6 commits. As you can see, look, master branch. All these commits that we have been working on. And you can even look, you can even click in one of them to see what was the code added to that point. All right, guys. One more thing that I want to cover before we finish this thing, which would be, let's say that you have done a lot of stuff here and like, wow, I don't know how to revert back to a certain point in my code, like to a previous save, because we added a lot of stuff. This is not working as I want. How can I go back to a previous commit and just stay in there? Okay, let's do that. Let's do git log. So when you do git log, you can see all the commits that you created from before. So now let me just, I can just scroll up and down, that's okay. So why is this not working? So I'm gonna do git log again. So I probably need to press enter to go up and down, and then I can just go like this with the scrolling wheel. So let me just press enter, adding the navbar. I want to go back, as you guys can see, to this part in here that says add company title. Probably I want to go back to this previous point. Okay, so to go back to this commit that we had from before, let me just copy this ID of this commit where we had like a basic structure of the website just with the title of the company. So I copy the ID of this commit that I have in here, select it, Control C or Command C, and to get out from this git log, guys, remember press Q on your keyboard. So let's do git checkout and then that commit that we have in there. And basically, look what happened. We just navigated to a previous commit where we were working. And as you can see, it's just like the regular project that we're working on, just with a body, just with an H1, and so on. Now, that's it. What if now you want to keep just working on this? That's fine. You know, the only thing that you need to do is look, git status. And as you can see, it says in here, head detached. So it means that currently you are not in any branch. You are not on a branch like master or navbar or anything. You are just on a detached branch because you are just like navigating to a previous commit. So what can we do in here now? We could, for example, do a git branch, and then I'm going to call this one, for example, detached head. You could call it anything that you want, okay? So what you are doing is, from this detached head that you are at the moment, from this point of code that you are working, you can create a new branch called detached head. Could be anything that you guys want, all right? So we're just doing git branch detached head. So if you guys remember before, we used another command to create a different branch. We used a command called git checkout-b and then the name of the branch. But that command will create a new branch and also change you automatically. We don't want to do that. I want to just create a new branch called detached head without changing to it. So let's just do that. This name in here, guys, can be anything that you want, okay? I'm just calling it detached head, but could be anything else, okay? Git branch detached head. And now that we created this, we can switch to that branch, just doing switch, git switch, and then detached head, that was the name, okay? And as you can see, if I do git branch, just to double check, we are currently on the detached head. That's it. So we are all good. Let's do git status. There is nothing to commit in here. We are all good. And what if now I want to convert my master into this code? So I want to scrap off everything that we have done on our master from before. What should I do in there? Okay, let's do git checkout master. Let's go into our master. And now let's just merge that code that we had from there. So we don't even need to do that. We could just basically work from there. Let's just do in here git checkout dash head. Git checkout, what was it? Detached dash head. So what we could do if we want is we have this branch. We could delete the master branch. So let's do in here git branch dash d. So the dash d is to delete a branch. We could delete the master branch if we wanted. This is if you wanted, okay? I don't really advise this, but this is just like in an extreme way. Git branch dash d master. So as you can see, you deleted the master branch, and now you could just do git checkout dash p. So like I said, guys, this is going to make a copy from this current branch where we are working, which is this detached head, and we're going to move into it, which is going to be the master. And there it is, guys. I think this tutorial could be quite useful for some of you that you don't know how to create different branches, how you can save these, and how you can move to a previous commit and so on. So that's really it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there is any other things that you would like to know about Git, so I can create some more tutorials. I don't know. I think I'm going to create a super tutorial, like a super course on Git on my website, telmoacademy.com. So I don't know, by the time that you are watching this, maybe in the future, I will have that course already in there. So make sure that you check the link in the description or just my website, telmoacademy.com. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this course, this tutorial in here. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you leave it a thumbs up so I can create more courses, so YouTube can promote my videos. And that's it. I will see you in the next one.